Mhm. Here we go. We're live. Oh, Jan, I still hear my voice.
But the voice from Jan is bad.
Okay. So here we are at the Blaze user group meeting, and I want to present you today the potential working group setup and what is the state of Blaze, what could be done in order to keep Blaze alive for all of us who are still having Blaze in our front ends, using it as our primary front end for our media applications, and um, don't want to migrate off of Blaze in the near future or in the longer future. And for this, I created a little presentation today. And yeah, we opted for 4 meetings over the year, and this is still very flexible, all of it. Maybe first of all, we go into the why and what about this whole meeting. So I'm going to fully share my presentation now. I don't know, Jan, if you need to resize the presentation that it's fully on the screen. I think you did that. So I'm going to make this now a full, sorry, I just keep it open like that. So first of all, I would like to talk a little bit about the current state of Blaze to everyone remember about where we are, just as a little starting point. Blaze itself is very stable and predictive. This tool exists for over 10 years or for over 10 years. And it reached a very stable state. There are usually not really big errors or something like this. And it has one of the best Meteor integration, basically, because it was developed when Meteor was developed and very close to the Meteor development. It still works very well with many NPM packages, so I'm having never had any troubles basically to include everything that works with the normal DOM works also in Blaze. Sometimes you need some adjustment, need to use on-rendered or something like this, or make it fixed, fix the auto runs, the tracker computations. But apart from that, most of the stuff works very well. Technically, it can scale from simple little templates to even huge, big, complex websites. I mean, at least I know for a fact, because I did that on many websites using dynamic imports and something to pressing down the bundle size to about 1 megabyte, and and the website is really big. The web app is really big because we use dynamic imports, and it allows also to scale in terms of your i18n and something like this. So there's a very good chance that you can use Blaze to build very complex stuff. And it has also good legacy browser support because it was built like 10 years ago. There are also some downsides. It lacks modern features we know from other front ends. And this gets more, and the distance between what Blaze offers and what other front ends offer gets bigger and bigger. And for newcomers, it's likely not a choice to go for Blaze, but rather for one of the big front ends. There's also the question of future of Meteor integration, because Meteor is constantly moving forward. And the question is how much of this forward moving is also considering Blaze. I have Italo here as a co-host of this meeting, and we were talking about in advance before this session about the involvement of the Meteor core team, and the Meteor core team is focusing on the Meteor core and performances and features that are mostly for the Meteor core. And this is why the future of meter integration of Blaze is a community effort and will remain a community effort. So, which is why we as a community have to step up and keep working on that it remains integrated well. There's also the question with the future of NPM package integration. Many packages move to ESM. I never experienced this to be an issue, but you don't know what happens in the ecosystem in the next years. I mean, there just needs to be a single thing that impacts everything, and then we have to act. And there's also another thing that it scales well in technical terms, but because Blaze is very verbose, in order to write a functionality that I need just a very few lines in Vue or in React, I need already double the lines, if not even more, in Blaze. So the code that is to manage becomes very complex the bigger the applications get, unless you're very good in abstracting things and reusing templates and so on. But not everybody is that, and not always is there the time. So this is also a downside currently. Then there's also some historical old issues, the technical debt everybody is always talking about. And at that time, when Blaze was working, ES6 was so super new that Meteor was one of the pioneering frameworks that actually had ES6 features. And most, or not most, but lots of code in these packages still has some ES5 code that could easily be translated. And the question is, for example, how do we want to migrate off of ES5 code? Do we want to go ES next, or do we even want to go TypeScript? This is not my choice alone. This is why the community needs to step up and discuss these things, which is why it's important to have people in these meetings to give inputs and opinions on that. The package structure of Blaze is very complex. If I open the Blaze repository and just take a look into the package folder, then you see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 plus one legacy packages, all for Blaze working together in a very complex, interdependent way. And as a newcomer, this is totally crazy to get into and understand what's happening there. And question is, how much of this overhead is still needed, and if there is a chance for future Blaze setup to reduce this by a lot. That would be awesome. The back end of Blaze is still built on top of jQuery methods, and there is also an effort by our beloved community member Harry Adele, who already did some pull requests. Let me check. It's in the pull requests, of course. The pull requests, who did already some initial work on replacing jQuery with some different alternatives. And this is a crucial thing because some people have jQuery only as dependency in their code base only because of Blaze, because Blaze demands it. But question is this even needed nowadays? I mean, most of the jQuery stuff isn't needed anymore because of the native web standards fulfilling this already. And then we have also the async integration that was an afterthought, thanks to Radek, who did the async integration for Blaze a few years ago. That was really awesome because that was not an easy task, as I realized when I read the blog posts. And this was not designed by default. So the whole Blaze package was designed with async, with sync code and not async. And then finally, we still have a website that, let me check, where is the website? Oh, the website is gone, blazejs.org. The website is, it's stable, it's representing the state of Blaze, basically. And beyond that, working on the website, working on the docs is really extra effort because I think it's still a Hexo website. I think it's not really markdown based unless I can check in the code base quickly. The site here, it has some markdown files, but so the question is if the website can be, the hexo can be replaced with something more modern like WordPress, for example. I think, Italo, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think WordPress is also what the Meteor team is now using, and making the website with more modern tools would also enable us to get more automation in terms of actions, in terms of building website documentation, deployments, and so on, using GitHub Actions. And so these are the old technical depths here. But okay, let's now get a little bit more into the missing modern features. So I just collected this is not a complete list. This is just a few features that I realized that Blaze is missing when I was working with Vue for a while, and then came back to Blaze, and I found out, okay, there's some things totally missing, like teleport. I know there's a package, but it was never completed. And it also had some issues with the Blaze event management, which itself is relying on jQuery, which is a problem in itself. We have no built-in state, and that was in the beginning, it was nice. So Blaze is so flexible, you don't need to have, you can define your state on your own, and you're very flexible with that. But this creates so much overhead for every template, declare the state, and so on. And I mean, totally, nowadays, it's just normal to expect. Yes, that. Mhm. Yeah, the thing is that you have to declare this state for every template. You have to say like template.state is a new reactive dict or a new reactive variable. And in other frameworks, it's just this dot set state, and then the reactive machinery is already running in the background, for example. And single file components, this is also something that is entirely missing. There is a tutorial from Southern from 2020 where he implemented single file templates where HTML code and JS code are usable within one file. And that's so much of an improvement in terms of mental load, or reducing mental load, because from now in Blaze, you still have to switch between the JS part and the HTML part. And even more awesome would be to have maybe an integration between HTML template part and JS part, but I don't know if that's feasible. But having one file single file component would already be such an improvement here, just in terms of mental load. And the other thing is also there are no expressions. So in Blaze, you still have to write a helper for everything and handle the expression in there. And this is sometimes creating so much duplicate code, or even worse, you're missing, you make it just very overcomplicated. And sometimes the only thing you need is to have a little expression in your conditionals in order to efficiently write code, and not just create another helper and pass the parameters and so on. Just an immediate evaluation here, that would be awesome. I'm using WebStorm as IDE, and the support is still there, but it's mostly of the handlebars aspects of the Spacebars engine in place, and this is very limited. So IDE support could be also improved. And then finally, there's no integration of any modern tooling. So the whole Blaze tool chain is delivered within all these packages. It's all in there. And this is okay because it's self-sufficient and you don't need anything else. But at the same time, it also limits you in terms of other things that might be required. This is also just a side note. I won't say that we need to implement all these features. This is just what I realized what is missing here. And I was thinking about how can we set this up? How can we make this a community effort? And my idea was that we first have we have an iterative cycle where we create and then later in later cycles refine our vision for a Blaze 2.0. And coming from that vision, we derive tasks where people need to research, okay, is this doable? How much effort is this? Can I do this? Okay, maybe I cannot do this. Who could do this? So that we first do some research, create some tasks and to-dos, and then we build a roadmap together. And with this roadmap, everybody knows what needs to be done. Tasks are triaged, prioritized. There may be a voting on what's needs to be done first, and so on. And then we work on these tasks, and then we start from new. And that was my initial idea. And since nobody really showed up today, I think we should create or refine the vision. We should leverage the forums. So please, everybody, join the forums. There is this forums post called Blaze User Group Meetings, and I would just keep posting in that forum post so that we can create and refine our vision for a Blaze 2.0 there. Just comment. There is nothing wrong if you say I disagree or I have a different idea. That's totally valid. I mean, that's because we're doing it as a user group, as a community, so that multiple views and multiple use cases shape this effort, basically. And yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it's already at 3.0, or would it be 4.0 if we go by the package version? Yeah. You know what I'm doing? I'm just writing for plays next. Then I outplayed the versioning system. But yeah, um, so this is just the mission we have. We have to iteratively refine our vision of Blaze, how we want Blaze to be. I mean, there might be that people say, "Oh, I need it to be exactly as it is because it needs to be stable and needs to work." This is also valid. This will also shape requirements for development. Maybe we have to make it backwards compatible, or we need to create a we have to work on two branches or whatever. The thing is, what we need as a community in this post or in our upcoming efforts, what we need to do is we need to think about what needs to be, what needs to change, what needs to be there, what is only nice to have, but would be a real improvement, for example, for quality of life, and what must be changed and removed. And from my end, this is, for example, the overcomplicated package structure. This is such an important thing. I also wrote down some topics here, by the way. So these are just my input topics on what we can think about it. Like the single page files, that would be, from my end, it would be a nice to have, but it would be a really quality of life improvement. Compiler toolchain is working, but it's overly complex, the same as the package structure. Question is how much we can simplify on that, and also remove and replace jQuery. I think these are, from my end of things, these are very must. And then there's also topics like TypeScript, because if we're rewriting things, I personally think it makes sense to go TypeScript early on, because it prevents so many issues, and it helps to keep a strict typing in order to prevent runtime to prevent any issues before the runtime starts. But there's also the caveat. I often look into TypeScript code, and I always have the feeling that TypeScript people tend to forget that documentation is still needed. Yeah, because I always have the feeling that when I'm looking into TypeScript repos, that people think that there is no documentation needed because TypeScript itself is verbose enough to document itself, and then nobody understands a thing. And so there needs to be also some kind of code quality guidelines if we do that. Another thing is, of course, there's nobody here today who's jumping in. I will definitely work on things of these, and I will try to keep this going until somebody is picking up. So anyone who's interested, and even if it's easy things, even if you think like, oh yeah, let me move the website to WordPress because that's an easy task to do, or let me introduce JS doc, or let me work on something manageable like issue triage or shaping roadmap. It's okay, jump in, and we can maybe we can draw in more people once a small team starts working. And from here, I would only want to refer to the next meeting that's in Q2 2026. Maybe we also need to change this format of the meeting. Maybe we need some more like a monthly. I don't want to impose that structure now, enforce that structure now, because first we need a team, and then we can think about, until we have a team, I would keep it at Q2, and in until then I would present what happened, and then we can form a concrete roadmap. I would love to see some people joining until then, and also already joining the discussion in the forums thread, and then let's get started to make it happen. And that's from my end the current state and the idea of the proceeding. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. And if you have any questions regarding the core, you can always reach out to Italo. I hope I don't make people now spamming your inbox. And you can also, when it comes to community, you can also reach out to Storyteller. And from here, I say thank you to everyone interested in that topic. And do you guys have something to add to this?
Yeah. I guess the best place for sure is, well, the Blaze repository, where you can find inside Blaze developers page, or in our organization inside Meter, we have a repository called the Blaze there. You can open issue, you can send a few pull requests. Feel free to open discussions. I guess, Jen, I guess we can open a topic in the Meeting forum specifically for discuss the ideas for the next chapter from Blazor, and where we can listen for what the community have to present for us. And yeah, as Jen said, well, our DM is open. Just send a message, and let's do it.
Uh, yeah, yeah. Okay, I mean, in that case, we might move the conversation to the forums and keep working there. And so I'm opening a new forum thread. It might be better to keep the ideas collection separated from the organization, as Italo already proposed. And then I hope to see everyone at the next user group meeting in Q2 of this year.
Great. Amazing. So that's it.